Could the Bulls actually now keep Zach LaVine? There is some thought now that he could pair well with Josh Giddey. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, Josh Giddey has his introductory press conference with the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of the insights and things that came out of that. And then lastly, it's draft day. Are the Bulls going to make some serious changes? We'll see. We'll get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, a member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. Pat, let's get into it. K.C. Johnson set Chicago Bulls world on fire when he mentioned that Zach LaVine could pair well next to Josh Giddey, and the Bulls could look to repair that relationship. How do you feel about that?
Here's the problem. Right? So here's the problem.
When Pat leans in with the serious voices, here's the problem. He's about to cook. Go ahead, Pat.
If anybody else has said it, I would say there's no way. K.C. Johnson don't talk to hear himself talk. K.C. Johnson, and if you hear the podcast, he kind of brings it up out of nowhere. Like, not that like they were talking about Zach LaVine, but then it's kind of just like all of a sudden he's like, well, wait a minute now, hold on. What if they kept him? There's talk around the team about possibly bringing him back. And like K.C. Johnson don't say stuff just to say stuff. He's the only dude there outside of maybe Sam Smith that actually has basically a pipeline to freaking Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley. He's hearing real things. So I do wonder if one of two things. One, AK and Mark Eversley have all of a sudden become the masterminds we thought they were in the beginning, and they're trying to drum up some hype around the Zach LaVine name to try and get the trade value up, which I have a hard time thinking that they're that intelligent at this point. Which is tough. Or two, they're serious about running this back because realistically speaking, and I said this over on the Breeze today,
well, we can't say running it back if we're changing Josh Giddey. Can we say this is still running it back?
I guess this is not technically running it back, but kind of no, it would be. Like, I guess if you swap DeMar for Josh Giddey, that's basically running it back.
And Drum's gone, and Caruso's gone, and Torrey Craig's gone. Let's not running it back.
Yeah, but your core is 2/3 of the same. And I think here's where my question would come in with that, because in a perfect scenario, the kind of player that I would love to pair with Josh Giddey is a 38+% three-point shooter and somebody who can jump out the gym and somebody who can get any shot that they want, who can make the float from the mid-range, who can knock down the corner three.
But you know the problem with everything you're naming? The problem with everything you're naming is all offense. The person who also pairs probably next well to Josh Giddey brings defensively because Josh Giddey doesn't. So unless the Bulls just think they're going to have this offense that's going to outscore everyone, which maybe they do, and I get offensively, the match is sound. There's no holes you can poke. Offensively, yeah, the pairing works, but that defensive aspects, the defensive aspect has a little bit of concern there. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think I would agree with you on that, but I can poke holes in the offensive argument as well, because that player sounds perfect in a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world. For all my blue collar construction workers out there, y'all know when the project manager comes to you and says, "Oh yeah, this job's gonna be simple, baby. All you got to do is run this pipe here. You'll be able to put this pipe here." Hey. we going into construction terms now, dog. You gotta just hold this.
Run this pipe here. And you gotta just hold this.
You gotta hold it. It is what it is. Hey. But you can make this move here, make this bend, and then all of a sudden you'll be set. It should take you 2 days, and then you get there and you go, well, yeah, in a perfect world, that sounds great, but there's a silo right here. I can't run the pipe through that because they're not gonna let me. And there's a valve here. I got to go around that, and we got this building over here, which means you didn't count for enough pipe, so I got to add an extra 250 feet. It all sounds like a pause. That's just electrical work. You know what I mean?
I know.
But my whole point in all of that is,
if you show up to the meeting, they say I'm gonna need more pipe, bro.
Because you gotta ask for more pipe, bro. It is tough. It is tough, bro. Construction and Diddy terms do not go well together, bro. You know what I mean? But my point in all of that is, right, like, that's what happens in a perfect world versus real world scenario.
That's a fact.
Apply that to the Chicago Bulls. Perfect world, Zach LaVine's the perfect player. 100%. There's no question about it. Heck, if we really look at it, he can play the defense we need him to. It's just, will he, right? And so I think we don't live in that world. We live in a world where offensively, the reason I could poke holes in everything I just said is because Zach LaVine's been signed for 2 years. How many of them has he been healthy?
1.
And the 1 year that he was healthy, he was playing through injury.
That's very true.
So he hasn't been a healthy player. He hasn't been the Zach LaVine that we thought we were getting when we paid him. That's not a perfect world. And so let's live in the world that we live in here. Let's not try to keep somebody around who we can't count on to be on the floor, and yet we're going to make a major part of our offense moving forward. I can't live in that world.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think ultimately, I just don't want the Bulls to overthink this one and find a reason to hold on. Not that, and again, I want to be clear because you got to say this because there's some people that just aren't very smart. And if you have a conversation,
these guys hate Zach LaVine.
Yeah. No, Zach LaVine is not the problem. But I'll tell you what, there is no one thing that is the problem with this Bulls team, and you do need to go in a different direction. Now, if the Bulls ended up keeping the Zach LaVine, to even if it is just in the hopes to recoup his trade value, it's not necessarily the end of the world, but you do got to realize that it is holding you back from truly changing your direction for the most part. We'll see what happens with it. Like when Casey said it, it's like, all right, I can see what you're talking about. I can even see it happening, but that doesn't mean it should. And that's the thing that ultimately where we are right now with this.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, here's my thing. My hope is that this is a smoke screen.
It could very well be hey, if these guys think we could keep them, maybe we can actually get a little bit more done. So.
And I wonder if you pair that up with the news that we got from Adrian Wojnarowski that, the Bulls are still looking to move up to try and go after Donovan Clingan, as well as other teams. If you're talking about trying to get the value up around Zach LaVine to maybe pair your pick to try and move up and go after him, they're trying to get up to 5 or 6, which is Detroit or Charlotte. Detroit was the trade that we were talking before. Is there still a value, even with the new GM and all of that in place, to bring in a player like Zach? Yeah, I think every time Detroit sees Zach, they see the best version of Zach. So they're probably thinking, sitting there thinking like how we think when we bring players in, like, no, this guy drops 50 every time he's in the building. We gotta get this guy on our team. So maybe there's a little bit of that plays into it as well. If you can get a deal done like that and you increase the trade value and you can get it just Zach LaVine and maybe a pick, I get like that's kind of the only scenario where I'm like, this makes sense to put something out there like this. Because again, Casey Johnson don't talk to hear himself talk. That's what a lot of people in the media do out here, but very rarely do we see that from KC.
But when me and you get on and do the post-draft show, is Zach LaVine a Chicago Bull?
Here's the part that sucks, dog. I don't think they're geniuses. Yes. I think they're going to try and keep him. I think they're going to try and repair the relationship. I think they're going to wait till the 9th hour to try and keep Zach LaVine on this team. I think he's a Chicago Bull. But it sucks because it's just like it at this point. Like now, you just like Jerry Reinsdorf is just sitting there like with his hand up, AK's backside, just going, "Yeah, this is what we do here at the Chicago Bulls. I'm the GM, and this is what I'm mimicking a puppet for the people who are on the podcast side because that sounds crazy if you have no idea what I'm doing on the screen. Like this is what we do. We want to remain competitive, and here we go. You know what I mean? Like at that point, like I've got all the answers that I need. All the stuff that we've heard this offseason, the subsequent moves that they've made. I've got all the answer I need to know who's.
You've got all the answers, but the problem is that AK and Eversley ask no questions.
Well, the problem is that the hand is up Acme's backside. That's where the problem comes in. I don't know if you peeped what I was doing there, but that's the problem. And here's the tough part about it, right? Like, I literally, at first, I was all in. Acme has no idea what they're doing. These guys are dumb. And then I literally started going through all of the lack of moves that we have made, the subsequent signings that we have made, and all. And I literally just was like, I can see how Jerry Reinsdorf would influence every single one of these moves, bringing home Chicago kids, going out and getting the undrafted guys on the cheap. The only thing that I think AK is legitimate, I'll say Marko Simonovic is an AK move. Because he drafted and stashed him. But I literally question, and maybe Unaralt Batim, but I literally question a lot of the moves now. As I went through them, I'm like, I could see Jerry being like, no, remain competitive. You can't make a deal here. By the way, Mikal Bridges basically just went for the same deal that we could have got for Zach LaVine. More picks, though.
That we could have got. Yeah. I mean,
I think, what was it? The Bulls was 4 picks?
No. Well, no.
The Bulls one was 4 picks.
Detroit was 2 picks. It was 2 picks.
Was it 2 picks?
Only 2 picks. Yeah, it was only 2 picks.
But we got 2 players. We would have got RJ Barrett and.
No, see, if you're talking, so you're 2 very different deals. So if you're talking about the Knicks deal, keep in mind, the Knicks didn't have Bogdanovich when they got Bogdanovich at this trade deadline. I thought you were talking about the Detroit deal. But yes, the Knicks deal was 2 unprotected first round pick and a protected first round pick. So it was 3 picks and RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges just went for a player and 4 picks.
Yeah. But all right, next up, we're going to be discussing Josh Giddey's introductory press conference with the Chicago Bulls. But before we get into that, we got to get into a message from one of our sponsors, and that is FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. By the way, if you would have bet on the Stanley Cup game last night, that was a game, that was an event.
Bro.
Listen, I don't always watch hockey. That was a game. History was almost made. We also saw their version of the Finals MVP went to the best player on the losing team. It was great. It was great.
It's not fun. It's playoff MVP for them. So it's very.
You're right. It's playoff MVP.
But yeah, it's still weird. I don't like it. He was the best player in the playoffs. He broke a Wayne Gretzky record. You got to give it to him. But I don't.
That's a fact. Visit FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer, as we already said. All right, Pat, getting back into it. Josh Giddey had his introductory press conference today. What?
I'm not saying getting back into it and then bringing up Josh Giddey.
That's
doing that.
I mean, we're not standing outside of a high school, bro. We're talking sports.
Okay.
Anyway,
we have too much power.
Josh Giddey had his press conference with the Chicago Bulls, man. He talked about how, coming off the bench, how he wasn't eager to come off the bench in OKC. Even direct quote this said, I just said to him, at this point in my career, I'm 21 years old. It wasn't something I was overly eager to do. And he completely understood. And throughout the whole process, we were open and honest with each other. He got it. We worked together through the whole process, and he got me to a great spot.
Yeah.
But other things, like Josh Giddey seemed very poised. Somebody he talked very maturely. You see sometimes with these younger players, 21 years old, they kind of get in these press conferences. They don't handle themselves the right way. How'd you feel about the press conference, Pat?
I mean, listen, it's a press conference. He didn't say much, right? But the 2 things that I thought that he did say, right? He wants to be the starting point guard. He doesn't know where his role is going to be with the Bulls yet, but he wants to be the starting point guard. And the conversation around, I want my defense to get better, and I can make everybody's life easier. Not I want to make their life easier. Not I'm hoping to make their lives easier. I can make everybody on this team's life easier. I love hearing that from Josh Giddey as far as the player that's coming in. I think we know, like when you traded Alex Caruso over this guy, he's the starting point guard. Like, we shouldn't even be sitting here like with any rhetoric. Like, what is Ayo DeSumo going to say at this point? Like, you're making him Alex Caruso. Yeah, so it's not like feelings should be getting hurt here.
And the people who say, "Oh my God, what is this going to mean for Ayo that he's no longer going to be starting?" I think that us as fans make more out of players starting or coming off the bench than I think some players do. Now, there are some players that all absolutely look at it, but it's more about minutes played. Ayo is still going to play the same amount of minutes. He's
probably going to play more.
That's true as well.
He's probably going to be a 38-minute. How many minutes did Ayo have last season?
26, if I'm just off the top of my head. I can look at it.
He's probably about to get a 10 to 12 minute increase per game. So Ayo should not be upset about anything heading into this season. I think on top of that, you also have to look at the Chicago
29
Bulls.
minutes a game for Ayo DeSumo.
He's getting a minimum 9-minute increase.
He's only sitting for 8 minutes in a game.
Yeah. Ayo's got a 7-foot wingspan, my boy. He's going straight from shooting guard to center, baby. You already know what's happening here.
Now, here's the question I want to throw to you in this. I know you said you traded Alex Caruso for him. He's going to be the starting point guard. But for the nature of to look at the best of what's best for your team, do you go into it with it for now the third year in a row? Do you go into training camp with maybe open competition for the starting guard role next to Kobe White? Because Ayo as a starter last year, 37 games played as a starter, 15 points, 4 assists, 3.5 rebounds, over a steal per game, almost a block per game. Do you consider making that an open competition, or is Josh Giddey just the outright starting point guard for you?
Why are we assuming Ayo's coming off the bench? This is the Chicago Bulls. Ayo very well could be, if we move Zach LaVine, our starting 3.
So if LaVine and DeMar are gone, because that's the only way I see that happening,
right?
There's a potential for that.
And which the latest we heard on the DeMar DeRozan contract talks is they have stopped or they have frozen.
There is no momentum. Is the exact phrase. No momentum.
And the Zach LaVine, we know what's going on there. Unless they, I did say that they might bring him back. Unless all of a sudden they bring him back, right? Like, I think that there's a chance for Ayo to be the starting 2/3 on this team because Josh Giddey's 6'8". They'll just say, yeah, he's kind of like the power. He's the small forward. Realistically, we know he's going to be the point guard, and they're going to run out there with the team that they currently have and say, here we go. And they're going to add a rookie into it. And like, I don't expect these massive changes coming except for roles increase. And that's why, to me, why are we even having the conversation on who's going to be the starting point guard here? For people that are like, well, now you're going to move Kobe White to 2 and he's going to change his role. Ayo DeSumo also had ball handling duties last season.
And I've been saying that literally since people brought that up. I'm like, yeah, Ayo and Kobe literally split. You remember it was the crazy
Alex
person.
Caruso also had ball handling duties.
It was the crazy person that was like, oh my God, Kobe played. The reason why Kobe slumped was because Ayo played point guard out there sometimes, and that's why Kobe had a slump. And it's like, hey, just chill out.
But you had the list spin at the end. He's got a part-time list.
It comes in as the stupidity rises, the list gets stronger. It's what happens.
It went from just being a nerd to Daffy Duck. Well, like, I don't know what just happened.
Suffering succotash. Billy Donovan, what?
But here's my thing with all of this. Like, you're sitting here and you do have to worry about the feelings and stuff like that. But I would hope behind closed doors, forget us, right? Like, who cares if the podcasters and the radio guys and the TV guys know what the lineup is? I would hope Josh Giddey knows, and he just was being a little bit coy in the press conference about whether he's the starting point guard or not. I would assume that if you traded him off of a conversation about not being the starting point guard where he was at, he's probably coming here to be the starting point guard. And I love the fact that he was self-aware. Mm-hmm. How many players are like, no, I just, it was a down season. I was dealing with some stuff, and so that was on me. But like, I know I can be in that role. Josh Giddey was like, I'm not an off-ball guard. Like, they played me off ball. That's a role I wasn't used to. I tried my best. It really didn't work. And I'm glad to be here where I can be on ball. It's kind of crazy, but it's not.
That face wasn't at that. That face was me thinking about fans' reactions to this whole Josh Giddey trade. it's just it's been fun to see it start like the roller coaster. Like it started off low, and then you started seeing people start to be like, hey, you know what? Maybe this isn't as bad as what I thought it was.
Well, I think what people were most upset about is the draft capital aspect of it. You couldn't get a pick from.
You would have let me finish my damn point, you Patrick the Designer. Like, shut the hell up. No, I'm just messing with you.
Go ahead, you bastard. Go ahead there, Cordero.
Hey, what we doing?
Hey. He gonna bleep it. He gonna go through and edit it and bleep it now. Sorry.
But yeah, no.
I didn't drop the last name.
I do agree that it is the fact that the not getting draft capital back paired with Josh Giddey and how his season finished in the playoffs. No. Those two things made this perfect storm of Bulls fans, the skies falling, things like that. It is what it is, man. I hope Josh Giddey shuts up a lot of people. Me too,
because I think that he's going to do what he said he wants to do. He's going to come in here and he's going to make life easier for guys like Kobe White, for guys like Aldisumu. Dare I say, for maybe even a Patrick Williams. But we'll see.
I mean, unless Josh Giddey plans on open-handing smacking Patrick Williams to get him to play the way we need him to play. Have you seen the new Bad Boys movie yet?
I have not.
Listen, there's a moment in that movie that it just made me think of Patrick Williams because Martin literally was like, hey, and just smacked Will. And it was just like, somebody needs to do that to Patrick Williams.
Sometimes you got to.
Sometimes you just got to smack somebody.
No, listen, here's the thing. What good point guards will do, think about like a guy like Richard Jefferson. Jason Kidd basically just told him, if you run, I will get you 10 points. I think Josh Giddey can do something similar to that, where it's just like, I'm just in such a perfect. Oh, no, that wasn't Richard Jefferson. Who said that? That was Amon Shumpert said that. He said, I am right here. I can dunk this basketball. You know what I mean? Like, I think Josh Giddey's that type of passer. I don't know if he's that level of passer yet, but we'll see, man. We'll see. Before we get into this final topic, where we got to talk about it being draft day, will we see significant changes? We got to tell you guys all about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. The formula for a winning championship is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
All right, Pat. Draft day. How you feeling, brother? How you feeling about the draft today? Are you confident that the Bulls going to make the right move? Do you think they're going to move up, move down? How are you feeling coming into draft day, brother?
I think they are trying to move up. I think that that's still something that's on their agenda. I think that is, I don't know how at this point, right? Like I literally saw like the Bulls want to move up to 5 or 6. And I was like, Zach and 11, like, what are you moving at this point? Like, not to say there's nothing on the team that you move, but like, all right, at this point, Ayo Dosunmu is a part of trade conversations, right? At this point, I would assume Kobe White is not. I'm trying to think of people on the team. Like, is there some combination of Nikola Vucevic to a team that needs a veteran presence and some future capital that's on? Like, I don't know what the move would be to move up, but I do think the Bulls are trying to move up, and the Bulls are trying. They realize that there's a player on the board that they've identified that they think for what they're doing allows them to compete early on this season and allows them to remain competitive in the Eastern Conference coming up this season. Now, if it doesn't work out, I think I may be on board a little bit with you now on if I had to pick one of the two, give me Khalil Ware over Kyle Filipowski. But I think there's some pieces at 11 that I would feel solid about, that I would feel like the Bulls could take advantage of, and they will probably not pick any of them because When's the last time we were right? I was right about P. Will, and I didn't like it.
The last time that I was right was Wendell Carter.
Oof.
That was the last time personally that I was right about a draft.
Yeah, I think P. Will was my last time being right. And Muzz were like, dude, you're a savant. How did you know this? And I literally was like, y'all didn't hear nothing I said in this video. I literally went, it would be a Bulls pick to pick him, but I hope we don't.
Listen, the thing is that the Bulls either need to go wing or go center. And those are two of the deepest positions in this draft.
So they'll go guard.
If the Bulls go guard in this draft, I am literally going to need AK to walk his linky ass down to that podium and explain why in detail. I need 1,000-word essay.
You know why. You already know why it's going to be. Well, you know what I mean? Listen, we feel that Josh Giddey can play some power forward and maybe some center.
So
we
official pick. Who are the Bulls drafting officially? Give it. Who you want them to pick and who you think they're doing.
Good save. Yeah. Who I want them to pick. I mean, we know who I want them to pick. Go get Terrence Shannon Jr. At this point, I would love to have Terrence Shannon Jr. paired up with come in as your 3 if you move Zach LaVine, depending on what comes back. Who do I think that they'll pick? I think they'll probably go with the safe name and pick Kyle Filipowski at 11. Because I don't know. I don't know how.
Becoming a huge reach now. Kyle Filipowski's mocked to go. I mean, I'm not. I'm just for context. He's mocked to go like more towards the 20s now in a lot of mocks. But
so you mean it would be an overdraft?
Oh, definitely. It seems like that at this point.
The Bulls.
All right.
I keep hearing the Donovan Clingan name. You know they're trying to get him to make.
Oh yeah, you've heard it too much. It's been too much too consistent
with Walker Kessler.
It's been like 3 weeks now. They're definitely trying to get Donovan Clingan.
You know they're trying to get him because they missed on Walker Kessler.
And that's another thing that they do. So who I want them to pick is Khalil Ware, who I'm starting to think that they'll draft, and mainly just because his name hasn't been mentioned around the Bulls for a while. I'm booking it right now. We're gonna walk out of this draft with Dalton Connect as a Chicago Bull.
I wouldn't be mad at that. If he gets to us, I'm very happy with that. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll say this: out of all the pieces on this team, and I'm just talking about fit right now, I think Terrence Shannon Jr. has one of the highest ceilings in this draft. But fit for what you have right now, if you got to 11 and you picked Khalil Ware, Kyle Filipowski, and Dalton Connects on the board, I would feel like you missed. Because I think that Dalton Connect's going to come in and literally be the type of player that you need to pair with Josh Giddey for Josh Giddey to be successful.
So again, no defense.
I mean, listen, I don't think they're trying to play defense at this point.
We just need to embrace the fact that a city like Chicago that has always branded itself on tough, all our teams, when our teams are good, we're tough defensive teams. This AK is going to look at this, and we are going to be we're scoring 100 overcorrection. We're scoring 135 points per game, but giving up 138. That's what next season is going to look like.
I watched Denver be able to win a championship in a similar fashion and only play defense when they needed to.
It's a lot different though when you have an MVP.
When you got Jokic, hey, you got to find your Jokic.
Yeah, you got to find your Jokic.
I watched Denver basically do the same thing and only play defense when they needed to.
True, but that season they won. Weren't they top 5 defense that season in the regular season?
They might have been, but I feel like they were a team that also was consistently giving up a lot of points. What was I going to say? Are we overlooking the young man who was promised to be picked by the Chicago Bulls?
That's the thing. It was said that there was a promise made, but they try to say that it could have been the Bulls, but I don't know if it's necessarily.
So the Bulls made a promise, basically, and we're going to get Chandler Hutchinson.
All right, let's end this on Trump. So yeah, the year that the Denver Nuggets won the title, number 8 defense in the league. That regular season.
What was their defensive rating that year?
Hold on, let's go back and look.
Because that's not deep. Number 8. I mean, that's top 10 defense. That's good. But like the Bulls were also a top 10 defense
that year. But as you said, they had the offense though as well with it.
Yeah, being able to put the points up make a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, being able to put a point up. They had a defensive rating that season. Why every time? What is happening to the numbers here? Every time I go to it,
StatMuse said you've looked too much.
Listen, StatMuse is definitely like 114 defensive rating.
Yeah, you got to put up 128.
Yeah.
So they were scoring points.
Points.
Oh man. Listen. I don't know. Get it right. You haven't gotten it right through 2 years. 3 years. Well, I guess you got it right. Io, you got it right.
I think Julian Phillips is gonna end up being one that we look back and say it's a second round pick, though. I think he's gonna be one that we say.
That's exactly right. Like you get your first round picks right. You haven't gotten a first round pick right yet. Get the first round pick guys right. Like, or
listen, AK, just keep accumulating second round picks then, if that's just what it is.
Hey, bro,
keep getting second round picks.
Is he the Ryan Pace of freaking basketball, bro?
All right.
He can't.
Let's go, bro. You didn't brought up Ryan Pace. That's how we know when the show's over with. That's crazy.
But the second round, he can find gems.
That's
hey,
crazy.
Man, follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all tuning in and showing love. And let's hope when we next talk, we're better.
You guys can follow me at CEO Haize. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. We are free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube. For Pat the Designer, this has been Locked On Bulls. We out here, y'all. Peace. So if we do draft Terrence Shannon Jr., can we call him and Giddey the beat the case backcourt?
That's nuts. Can he play on the team though if we have a Giddey with a junior?